Welcome back to Real Estate Live, where your questions get answered. We go live every week at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and we talk about the hot topics that everyone is talking about and what's going on in real estate in the mortgage world. Today, we're talking about what happens in the first 48 hours after getting your offer accepted. This is a point that my loan officer, Celeste Harvey, and I have observed a lot of people having a lot of confusion about. So we want to try to iron this out, answer these questions now, especially in a live format, so you have the opportunity to ask the questions that are on your mind. Celeste is also going to be giving us the mortgage market updates and along with the current mortgage rates. My name is Andrew Finney. I'm your host, and I'm with King Realty Group here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Let me go ahead and bring Celeste up, and let's get after it. Good morning, Celeste. Thank you for joining in. Happy Friday.
Good morning, Andrew, and hello, all of my YouTube friends. Happy Margarita Friday.
Yes. I think you got to start doing something like that. You know, some kind of dance for the Margarita Friday, right? That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So good stuff. I appreciate you joining in today. Why don't we go right after it with the mortgage rate update, please?
Perfect. Okay, guys. So everyone's dying to know where are the mortgage interest rates at, and really, it's no secret. Mortgage loan officers are locking rates in the 2s and in the 3s. And all of that really just depends on what type of loan program you're doing, what the loan term is. You know, there's different options, 15-year, 20-year, 25-year, 30-year fixed programs. There's also adjustable rate mortgages, etc. So, so just depending on your particular situation, that's about where your interest rates should fall. So let's head into the mortgage market update, and we're going to take a look at this chart I have here. You can help me bring this up, Andrew.
Sure thing. There you go.
So for those of you who follow us, you kind of know what this chart is already, but if it's your first time here on our live channel, this is a chart, and I'm using MBS Highway. I don't know if you guys can see it, .com. This is something a lot of loan officers use to monitor the markets. Today I'm looking at the UMBS 30-year 2% chart here, and this is really interesting. This is today, so this is all in live time, and you can see here about 2 weeks ago, we gained some momentum in the bond market. We hit this little red line, which is 103.26. That's our line of resistance. And we came back down, we traded sideways, we hit it again last week, and this week we've been trading sideways. So it'll be really interesting to see if we can break above the resistance. And maybe possibly tap into some better pricing. But overall, we are seeing really great interest rate pricing. And I wanted to actually show you guys something kind of cool because I love tracking trends.
Wow.
So I wanted to show you guys where we were back in March. This was March. This right here, this little green, I don't know if you guys can see that, but this little green candle at the very end, this was like late February, and this was heading into March. This right here, I believe, was March 9th. You can see we broke above that resistance. So you could see this line of resistance. We broke above that, and we tapped in some really good interest rates. And you could see we issued an alert to lock because we knew that those rates were really good. And then we saw a ton of volatility. I mean, rates were all over the place in March. And then heading into April, May, June, and July, we've pretty much traded sideways this entire time. And then we got a little teeny uptick in momentum, and we just keep hitting this little line of resistance. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens, heading into August, September. So we'll keep monitoring this. But another chart I wanted to mention is the 10-year US Treasury. So typically, and I'm going to bring up this chart for you guys. Typically, this was a chart that we could follow very closely because it was very in line with where mortgage interest rates were, and it was something that we could really look at to kind of determine where we think interest rates might go. So I'm going to pull up this chart, and you can see the orange line is the 10-year Treasury, 10-year yield, and then the green line is mortgage interest rates. And you can see that these two lines moved very closely together. So the 10-year was, for the most part, a good indicator of where interest rates will go. Well, here you can see there's a huge spread in between the two. And that was back in March, May, June, and now heading into July, we're starting to see these two reduce the spread. So I'm starting to look at this chart again, just to determine, where we think interest rates might go. So things are kind of changing as we go, and having a good loan officer on your side who reads these charts and follows the trends and tries to stay up to date can be very helpful for you when you're locking in your mortgage interest rate.
And thank you for those updates. That was actually extremely detailed, and I really appreciate you using that MBS highway and putting that out there publicly for all of us to learn from as you're teaching us what all of that means. Now, it's pretty interesting when you're noting different lines of resistance and stuff, and the reason that I'm bringing that up is it sounds like whenever you hit that resistance point, it meant that the rate went low, or at least ways you got an alert to lock. Is that correct, or am I completely wrong? Because, you're the loan officer, so you got to school us here.
I mean, typically, when bonds have an inverse relationship with interest rates. So when the bonds are doing really good, typically, not always, but most of the time, we're going to see better pricing. We're going to see higher bond pricing and lower interest rate pricing. So when we're, hitting these lines of resistance, that means we're increasing that pricing in the bond market. And if we can break above that, there's a lot of room to the upside, but we're having a hard time breaking above that line of resistance. And the last time we did was back in March, and shortly after that, we saw a ton of volatility.
Yeah.
So if anyone, I don't know if you were in a transaction back in March, but the rates were crazy. They were up and down.
Well, they really were, because that's whenever we had the announcement of the COVID and where we started hearing about the stay-at-home orders. And it was also the same time after the stay-at-home orders were announced across the United States that we started streaming live. It's actually about March 21st. So it was a couple or so weeks into it. But I know that right out of the gate, when Bill and I were talking about the extreme volatility, that rates were in a single day anywhere from 3 to 6%, just depending on what extreme it was at that moment that lock was going down, and over the course of a single week. So, I mean, it was insane. So the stability line, at least ways trading sideways a little bit, is kind of good when you can see some type of pattern, of consistency, I suppose you would like to say it, as opposed to massive swings one way or the other. So that's pretty good stuff. But Celeste, I'd like to go ahead and get into the hot topic of the first 48. What's really interesting about this is I have a lot of different conversations with a lot of different people that reach out to me, email me, if I'm able to take the call, sometimes that call me from YouTube and stuff. And also, obviously, the families and the people I have the blessing and opportunity to represent here in Vegas locally. The reason I'm bringing that up is, again and again and again, this confusion about what happens in the real estate process, from home search to negotiations to opening escrow, keeps coming up. And that's the purpose of my entire channel, is helping people make sense of real estate, which Now, with that said, though, when it comes to the first 48, I think it's really important to note that after your contract gets accepted, the next thing that's going to happen is your real estate professional, your real estate agent, is going to send that contract to the title officer to begin the closing process. And I say closing process, but in a lot of places, this could also be called escrow. I've just found that most people better comprehend the closing process because that's what it is. Now, that said, once we do that, we're sending over the buyer's contact information. So step one really is sending that contract to the title officer along with buyer's contact information, because the title officer is going to then turn around and send the buyer an email with the wiring instructions for your earnest money deposit. You'll hear it called EMD. It's earnest money deposit, or simply a deposit of good faith. You need to make that within the first 24 to 48 hours to make sure that everything is everything is good to go with your escrow and moving on to the next step. And that next step actually brings up you for step 2. So go ahead and tell us about step 2.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I tell my clients it's going to be the first 48. So people kind of laugh because they think of like a murder mystery show or something. And I'm like, it's not
put that mojo out there.
It's not, but I'm like, it's the first 48. So within that time frame, we all know that that's a really important time frame. We got to get all this stuff in. And I let people know it's going to be a little crazy up front. It might be a little stressful. It might be a little bit overwhelming because you got all these people reaching out. You got your real estate agent, you got title company, you're wiring money. Then you got me, your mortgage lender, who is now also has your contract in hand. So once I get that, I'm preparing your initial loan disclosures. Those are super duper duper important. And once those are sent out, they need to be signed right away. Within at least 24 to 48 hours. So once those are signed, then that is our golden ticket as a mortgage lender to order your appraisal, because within that first 48 hours, we want to start ordering all of the inspections, your homeowners inspection, your appraisal, because we have all of these different contingencies that we have to meet. You have your buyer due diligence, you have your appraisal contingency, you have your loan contingency. So we are on a timeline. We have a clock and it's ticking. And that can be hard for people, because say your offer gets accepted on a Saturday, and then our 48 hours is going to start Monday, Tuesday. So those 2 days, we got to get all this stuff done. And if you're going to work, you have kids, you're trying to get to the bank to wire your money, sign these disclosures, it's a lot and it can be overwhelming. But I always tell people, let's get it done, because once this stuff is kind of done, then through the rest of the process, there's still things that you're going to have to do, but it's not going to be as crazy as those first 48 hours.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's important to note when we're talking about the earnest money deposit, the best practice, and always do this, please, always, is when you receive that email from the title officer, number one, your real estate professional should definitely be telling you who that is. And if they know that they have a team, because a lot of them do, then they should also be sharing that information with you. But what you want to do when you get that is to simply pick up the phone and give that title officer a call to verify that account and routing information. You may have heard like the people in San Diego last year that lost like a lot of money, like $800,000, because they wired money and they didn't verify everything was quite right. But it goes deeper than that as that story keeps unfolding. At the end of the day, they got a faulty set of wiring instructions and they'll never see that money again, at least from the person that took it. So it's very important to understand that. Now, this also raises a lot of questions whenever you say that. Obviously, it's like, oh my God, I don't want that to happen. Sure. Can I just put cash into escrow, or can I just write a check, or can I do a cashier's check? The answer to cash is no. The answer to a check or a cashier's check really depends on the escrow company's practices and policies, whether that's permissible. In a lot of cases, they could take it up front, but you're still going to have that wire with the cash to close at the end. I've yet to see a title company that will take anything other than that wire for cash to close with that sum balance. But back to the first 48. As Celeste mentioned, that's everything that's taking place in just that first 48 hours alone from the loan officer's perspective. On the real estate side, we're also working in tandem to meet those timeframes. So if you've ever heard or watched or been through the real estate process before, and you're wondering why your real estate agent starts clicking in, your loan officer starts clicking in, and we start moving very, very fast, is to keep you on contract and to reach all of those different dates within the contract, within your contingency period. And the only focus that we have is like mission number one is protecting you, protecting your best interest, and making sure that we are contractually in compliance. And ideally, we're ahead of schedule, because one of the first things that I'll do is I will kick off really quick. Hey, you have a home inspector in mind? If they don't have a home inspector in mind, would you like me to contact one for you? They say yes. I say, great. And do you want to attend the home inspection? Do you not want to attend the home inspection? And then I get with the home inspector to schedule that as soon as possible. It doesn't always happen in the first 48. Love it when it does, but I always try to get it done in the first 3 to 5 days, because going back to buyer due diligence, normally, 10 to 14 days is completely normal, just depending on where people live in the country. So it's important to note that. And if anyone has any questions about any of this, drop a line in the comments or drop a line in the chat, whatever the case may be, and we can make that happen for you and make sure that we get those questions answered for you. Now, Celeste, was there anything else that you want to share with that? Because realistically, I think what happens is when we go from home search mode to negotiation mode, to that moment that your contract gets accepted, it's like an emotional roller coaster, right? We're riding on cloud nine. We're excited, we're jittery, we're like, oh crap, things just got real. And it's important to remember to do that hashtag JTAB. Just take that breath to reassess. Make sure that you ask the questions of your team, and make sure that your real estate agent ideally is like giving you a bird's eye view. And I have videos about this, giving you the bird's eye view of what to expect. But the point that I'm making here is that transition from home search mode to negotiations to the closing process itself is like big changes. And in the reality show with the Hernandez family, we had talked about, they felt like in some ways it was like really a long process. And I shared with them, I said, do you realize it was 29 days from the time we made the offer on your house to the time we got it accepted to now giving you the keys to your house? At the end of the day, it was 29 days. Significant life change in an overall scheme of things, very short amount of time. Just had the same conversation with another first-time home buyer yesterday, getting ready to close next week. And they're like, oh, my wife is so ready. We just want to move in. When can we have the keys? And I said, when we close. We're almost there. We got a lot more to do. So you just got to take a step back, stay focused. We're almost there. We're just a few days away. But it sometimes feels like it's a long process, but up front, it's going to feel like everything moves so fast. Give yourself 2 weeks in the closing process, and you're going to think you've been doing it for 2 years. And it's okay. We got your back. Just make sure you're asking those questions and make sure that you're gaining clarity on insight on what happens next and what to do. So Celeste, do you have any final thoughts about best steps from a loan officer's perspective?
You pretty much hit the nail on the head there, but for my clients, before they go out shopping, they already know what loan program, they have an idea of what their mortgage payment, all that stuff is going to look like. So when it comes time to start the closing process or go into escrow, and I let them know ahead of time, like, we're going to start moving really fast. I've noticed that the transaction is very smooth. For people who just rush into it, they haven't really discussed their loan at all with their loan officer. When it comes time to signing those initial loan disclosures, it creates a lot of confusion and problems. So I know you guys are really excited to go out and go shopping, but discussing your loan ahead of time, having an idea of what your program looks like, what your payment looks like, will help you through the closing process, and it will make things go a little bit more smoother.
It will go a lot smoother whenever you have a game plan. And it's that statement that I try to say in a way that helps everyone remember. Get your ducks in a row and ready to go. And part of getting the ducks ready to go is that game plan meeting. By having that bird's eye overview, you don't have to understand and internalize everything right there in that moment, because there's so much. And that's why we have professionals, because, there's people that watch that are attorneys, doctors, nurses. I couldn't do your job, but I could listen to you and I could follow what you tell me to do and make sure that I'm working with you on that game plan to make sure that everything gets done correctly. So is true with your loan officer and your real estate professional. Following that plan, listening to the guidance, and being there and asking the questions that are meaningful to you and that are in your mind's eye are critically important. So when we're looking at this, it's about taking that step back and working with your team, because we got your back. So slow it down to speed up. If you've ever heard that statement, or if this is your first time, trust me, it's a very powerful statement. If you start adopting it, slow down to speed up. And you'll find yourself gaining clarity and focus. And when you have clarity and focus, you have a strong game plan. And when you have that, you don't get fazed by almost anything. You can get a little agitated sometimes if that home inspection don't come back quite the way that you would like or something like that. But it's okay, because now we need to anticipate potentialities. So I really appreciate that. So Celeste, why don't we get into our favorite section, which is viewer Q&A time. What's on your mind? Tell us. So let's see what we have waiting for us over here. Thank you, everybody, for your patience, by the way. Carmina, good morning, everyone, and smiley. Appreciate your energy, Carmina, and thank you for being here, my friend. Jay-Z says, good morning. Jay-Z, good morning, my friend. Thank you for joining in. Kathy Martinelli, good afternoon, everyone. So we know that Kathy must be on the East Coast. And Miss Kathy, thank you so much for joining in with us. It's great to see you here with us again. Sally says, hi, good morning. Good morning, Sally. Thank you. Nathan says, good morning and have a great weekend. You as well, Nathan. And thank you so much, my friend, for sending out the positive mojo. Very appreciated. Jamal Bates says, I'm considering a new construction. How is the property tax calculated? I'm out of Arkansas. So whenever Celeste and I are in Las Vegas, Jamal, so I'm going to show you something here that I just Googled straight up, just property tax in Arkansas, right? And it shows that the Arkansas property tax rate is 0.63%. If you start clicking on this link here, it actually gives you the property tax calculator. And all I did for reference was simply go to Google and type in Arkansas property tax or property tax Arkansas. Either one will work. And you'll get this link so that you can go over here to the site smartasset.com. And it's going to take you to their landing page here and give you some information about how property taxes work in Arkansas. Now, this will work for all 50 United States for reference. So if you're curious about it, you know, it's very simple to get into it. You can see exactly what the median home value is, median annual property tax payment, and the average effective property tax rate for each of the areas within Arkansas. So Jamal, I'd ask you to take a look at that and go from there. But one thing that I would like to tell you about that, Jamal, is when it comes to new construction, it's like the property tax rate here in Las Vegas, Nevada, for instance, is 0.91%. So when a lender is doing a home loan for new construction, they always factor 1% because it's new construction. So they err on the side of safety and go a little bit higher. So it's a good point for you to know. So we know now, based upon that Google query we just did, according to Smart Asset, they're sharing with us that the Arkansas property tax rate is 0.63%. Now, I wonder if maybe it's 0.75% on new construction. How do you think we get that answer? We get that answer by asking the loan officer what are they going to be calculating for. And we get that answer by having that conversation with your trusted real estate advisor you're working with to better ask the questions that need to be asked of the loan officer of the new construction and make sure that we have insight and clarity so you can better plan and prepare for that. Now, one of the big things when we're wondering about property tax too is oftentimes how does it tie into your monthly mortgage with principal, interest, property tax, and homeowners insurance? And now we're circling back to that question again of asking the loan officer like Celeste, can you give me a breakdown of that loan estimate and roughly how much I'm going to be paying out every month for my principal, interest, property tax, and homeowners insurance? There's only two variables in that entire equation once your loan is locked and you have your rate locked. And those two things that are fixed are the principal and interest. The two things that can fluctuate in your mortgage are your property taxes and your homeowners insurance. And sometimes people ask me, well, why would homeowners insurance fluctuate, Andrew? Well, think about it for a moment. What if you want more coverage? What if you didn't have as much coverage initially, and then you decide later on, hey, you know, I'd like to get an umbrella policy, I'd like to get this policy and that policy. Well, then that's, if you're having it built into your escrow account, that's where you're going to see your mortgage rise. Your principal, your interest never changed, which is the actual repayment to the lending company. A homeowner's insurance changed. It's those four components that comprise a monthly mortgage payment. So those are my thoughts for you, Jamal. I hope that's helpful to you. If you're still with us, then please hit us up in the comments. Let us know what your key takeaway was and what you discover after having that conversation about what the new construction property tax rate is in Arkansas. So please let us know what you find out. Jay-Z, thank you, Jay-Z. Jay-Z said, had to stop escrow due to tenants refusing to leave the house we were buying. Tired of looking for a house. Looking for into new construction, but house will be ready next year. Should I risk the interest rate and the new construction is not offering any concessions? Is that normal? Boy, oh boy, Jay-Z, where are you coming from, my friend? I mean, I see palm trees in your image there. So California, maybe. And the reason I'm asking you that is it's pretty interesting for two things, right? we know that we have smoking low interest rates, and there will be a definitive trade-off in the future on these interest rates. They cannot and will not stay as low as they are right now. That we know, which does impact your amount of purchasing power, right? Now, does that mean you should just rush into a house if it's not right for you? No, not at all. It's not about chasing the market, JC. It's about making sure that you have peace and clarity within yourself from everything that we just discussed a moment ago. Having that game plan in your focus. And is the resale market hyper competitive across the United States right now? Absolutely. It's very low inventory. And that's why you see a lot of people turning to new construction. Now, when you mention new construction isn't offering any concessions and is that normal, I think it really depends on where you're at. But it hasn't been my experience this year on any new construction. And I have several families that are working through the new construction process presently, and all of them received incentives. So and they're all different builders from, you start looking at some of the more premium builders like a Richmond American or Pulte, Toll Brothers, down to like a more affordable builder like KB Home. And a lot of these builders are offering incentives. So I would ask you to get with your trusted real estate advisor to really get deep on that and see if there are concessions that they're offering and see what those incentives are and if there's any terms and conditions apply to them. Because when it comes to new construction, more often than not, to receive those benefits from that builder, you have to work with their loan officer. So you have to gain clarity on that up front. And these are questions you want to ideally be asking prior to going to a contract on a new construction home. And prior to going to view new home construction, you would like to have a trusted real estate advisor that you can work with that is not only experienced and going to be there for you, but also experienced with the new construction process ideally and how it behaves and operates, because there is a difference. So Jay-Z, thank you so much for that. But I would like to back up 1 second, because when you're talking about should I risk the interest rate, Celeste, I'd like you to touch that one with what you're thinking, since you look at MBS every day and the trend. So I'm going to put you on the spot, lady.
Well, we can't time the market. There's no way to know. Like, we didn't know rates were going to go all crazy in March. We had no idea. So I would say if you're going to do new construction, make sure you have a lot of room in your debt to income ratio. Make sure your loan officer is accounting for any movement in interest rates, because if rates do go up, it's something we can't prevent. And you're not going to be able to lock in your interest rate till you get closer to closing. So if it's going to be done next year, that means next year. And whatever the rates are at the time when it's time to lock in, that's what you get for new construction. So again, as long as you have a cushion in your debt to income ratio, if the rates go up, you're not going to have a problem. So and as long as you're okay with the mortgage payment, you should be fine. So your loan officer can even just show you some examples of, okay, well, here's the rates today, but if it moved up, this is what your payment might look like. Are you still comfortable with this? And it's okay to have your loan officer throw different scenarios out there. And that's something I look at too, because when you're doing new construction, there's so many things that can happen that you got to have a game plan for any little thing.
Good points, and thank you for sharing, Jay-Z. Or Celeste, Jay-Z, it's really about, hey, woohoo! No, we're all take different names. Happy Margarita Friday, right? I haven't touched one. I have not had a margarita. I promise I haven't had a margarita. It's way too early, but maybe later today. I don't know. So
I need one today.
Right. I mean, it's been a hectic week, productively hectic, of course, and it's always fun to be here on the live stream. So it's always so much fun with everyone that joins in. And I know it's one of the highlights of our week and is being here and spending this time with you guys. But Jay-Z, Celeste did say something a moment ago, and I said something similar, and I just want to tie it down one more time. And that's, don't chase the market. Chase the time that is right for you in your life for the reasons that are most important to you, and buying your new home, and stay focused on that reason. Doing so will see you making a well-informed decision no matter what you choose to do, when you choose to do it. So please just align yourself with the reasons why you're buying your house, receive your clarity, receive your focus, and in the process, you'll receive your peace to move forward. Okay. Eskimo in Alaska. Ooh, now that's a fun one. Eskimo in Alaska. I love that. I love that. I love that. It looks like a big old fur. I love that. That was hilarious. Okay, love that. Anyways, Eskimo in Alaska says we are just past negotiations now. Signing today. Perfect timing. Yes, it's so emotional. Thank you for sharing and congratulations on your new home, my friend. I hope that it is everything that you've always wanted. And of course, we're sending you nothing but love and positive mojo for a wonderful time in your house and all the years that you'll live there, filling the walls with the laughter and joy and happiness. So thank you so much for checking in with us, Eskimo in Alaska, and letting us know. I'm super pumped for you. And please let us know how it goes. And I do have a home ownership playlist, by the way, to help you know how to maintain your home if that's helpful to you. Laura Acosta says, good morning, right in the middle of escrow as a seller. Very timely. Thank you for your great information. I'm doing JTAB as a sort, pack, donate, and go through the process. Laura, that's perfect. And thank you for using that. I mean, JTAB is a very, very powerful tool. I actually came up with it a long time ago. Just a little bit of, I guess, backstory on that. And how it came to be was I just always told myself, just take a breath, because I'd get anxiety sometimes whenever I'd be in different situations or in large settings or groups of people. And it's easier for me to speak on the camera and to some extent. I get nervous every time I press record, honestly. And that's 670 videos. It always is that way, but I think it's just because I care and I want to give you the most value that I can in the shortest amount of time possible. But that said, whenever I first got into real estate, and even when I was in the Marine Corps and through my entire life for that matter, when you go into something new, it's easy to feel nervousness. It's easy to feel a little bit of nervous anxiety. But I found back then, before I understood what it did physiologically to the body, I found that by taking deep breaths in, I can calm my mind and I could focus. And that's where JTAP really started coming to be. And then now with the movement of, all the social media platforms since the mid 2000s, then these hashtag things and all this fun stuff come out. Celeste had to tell me what a hashtag was a few years ago. I remember that. I was like, Celeste, what's a hashtag? I don't understand.
2018.
Yeah, 2018. I'm like behind the curve on the hashtagging. But she's over there, being soft and ginger and telling me as a millennial, Andrew, this is a kind of important thing. And this is what it does. And now I use them all the time. But the hashtag JTAP, right? Just take a breath. And you're doing it right as a seller, by the way, to sort, pack, donate, and go through the process. And doing so will make it a lot easier for you when it comes time for you to move out. So Laura, I'm super glad that you joined in. I'm super glad to hear that your home is in escrow as a seller. And we're sending you positive mojo for a smooth and efficient closing all the way through. Jamal Bates, thank you so much. Jamal says, how strong are pre-approvals when everything's checked? If everything's been checked, income, assets, credit, and employment verifications, heck is strong. Now, Celeste, didn't we just talk about things that you could do to lose that though? Yeah. Give us your top 2 things not to do after you get your loan pre-approval.
Well, number 1, don't quit your job. You need a job. So if anything changes with your income, your employment, the way you get paid, we just don't want it to happen during the loan process. So from the moment you get your pre-approval to the moment you get your keys, keep everything the same, keep working the same hours. Number 2, credit. Please, please, please do not do anything with your credit. Do not open new cards. Don't make large purchases. Don't close any accounts because that can drop your score. You want to just keep everything the same. Make your payments on time because any little change throughout the process can cause a change in your interest rate pricing. It can cause you to not qualify and not get your keys, which doesn't happen too often, but sometimes people make a little oopsie that turns into a big problem.
Yep. So And those are great points, and thank you for raising them. So Jamal, essentially, when you get your loan pre-approval letter, as at that moment in time that the loan officer issued it to you, it's going to be extremely strong. It's going to be completely verified with your income, assets, credit, and employment. What can derail the process is what I asked Celeste just to share with us a moment ago, is because we have seen people, or we've heard of people, and you probably have too. I'm sure all of us know somebody that fell out of contract because they made a bonehead mistake. And that bonehead mistake doesn't make them a bad person, but that poor decision cost them their house. And in some cases, depending on where you are in the contract and the closing process itself, your earnest money deposit could be at risk, and you could lose that money and never see it again. Now, we work too hard and to see our money just be flushed down the toilet because of a poor decision. So the purpose of this channel, the purpose of these live streams, is to have this kind of a conversation to make sure that you know what to be thinking about and the questions to ask and the process to take to see you through to a successful finish. As long as, Jamal, you're talking with your loan officer and if something's on your mind, you just simply raise the question and ask them before you do any financial maneuvers, then listening to that wisdom will see you with your pre-approval being not only strong at the front, but all the way through to the moment that you get final loan approval, and then you are able to close on your new home. So just follow along with the process, be patient, and ask the questions along the way. And it's a great point, so thank you for raising it. Seth Hanna, Seth, thank you so much for joining in today. Seth says, hi, Andrew and Celeste. What is the best way to research when Mellow, Ruse, or other special assessments will expire in a particular neighborhood? So, Seth Hanna, thank you so much. When Celeste was helping out earlier a moment ago, I actually did you another quick Google. Google is like my favorite thing ever. I mean, anytime Andrew has a question, Andrew goes to Google. Sometimes I turn to textbooks and stuff, and I got them all over here, or books and like that, where, Google may be a little bit harder to decipher the information. But essentially, a simple Google query in this case, Seth, of Mellow, Ruse lookup, Mellow, Ruse is typically a California type thing, right? So right here, you see right here on the top, if you're in San Diego, this would be your link. And here's the answer right here. People are also asking, how do you find out when Mellow, Ruse expire? And then this is now in Rockland. So now you start seeing how this can go down. Does it ever go away? And essentially what you're going to be doing whenever you're talking about Mellow, Ruse is to contact your real estate agent, have that question, and ask them, because they'd be able to point you in the right direction for your city, for your county, and where you're located. In Las Vegas, for instance, we don't have what's called Mellow, Ruse. We call them SIDS and LIDs here, which is a form of a special assessment in a way, but it's actually a special improvement. And what that special improvement is, takes the form of a municipal bond from Clark County to a builder to install the infrastructure within a new home community, like the sidewalks, if it's going to have them, the streets, the plumbing, the electrical, the sewage, right? All of that stuff has to be brought onto that raw dirt to be able to build homes around it. Now, even though that municipal bond was given to the builder in their infinite profit-minded wisdom passed it along to the consumer, just like we see all those beautiful surcharges and stuff, like on your cell phone bill, on your energy bill. You get all these little fees that add up to like an additional $10, $20 sometimes. It's kind of the same thing, except now it's just a bigger price tag because it has to do with home value, and it has to do with bringing that in and what that municipal bond was. Now, here in Las Vegas, for instance, when you pay off a SID or a LID, it's gone. It's gone. In California, it's not always the case when you're talking about a Mellow, Ruse. It can expire, it can go away, but if for some reason the county says, hey, there's no sidewalks next to your home, and because maybe you're out in more of a rural area and now they want to do that, oh, well, we need to fund this project, so now we're going to all the owners along this area, and now we're going to give you a special assessment to pay for it. So it's something to know about, because California works a little bit different. So when we're talking about that, we do want you to have that conversation with a California real estate agent in your area to better explain that. But just like I can easily find out if a property here in Las Vegas has any SIDs or LIDs attached to it, along with how long and what those payment intervals look like and at what rate, and about how much time is left on that SID or LID, so is true of your California real estate agent near you, okay? So please get with your agent to ask that question and make sure that you gain clarity on that, because they will be able to tell you in particular neighborhoods when they expire, or even if there are any at the time. So thank you for the question. It's a great one, Seth. Eskimo in Alaska, thank you so much. Eskimo says, I was able to buy my property from my remote village in Alaska. Using your advice on how to best do that, the video tour made the property night and day. Thanks so much. You're very welcome. And, you know, I'll be putting out a whole new series on that in the not too distant future about how to buy a home sight unseen. And I've been getting asked a lot of questions about dialing in the buying out of state process and buying out of area process. And I recently put that into its own playlist with the videos that I've already created with different tools and resources and the show more description of every one of the videos that would be available. But Eskimo, thank you for letting me know. Makes me feel really good knowing that that worked for you and that the videos that I've created on this topic have been beneficial to you. So really, really happy for you, my friend. And thanks for jumping on the live stream and letting me know how powerful it was for you, and that you're getting ready to close now. So super excited. Jamal says, thank you for the info. Awesome. Jay-Z says, California, just what I thought. California always does things wonky in different ways, you know, when it comes to real estate and stuff, and, you know, the pricing of homes. And we know that because Celeste grew up native San Diegan, and I was in San Diego for, about 10, 11 years before I moved out to Vegas. So I lived there for a hot minute too. So yes, we get California, my friend. It's an entirely different ball of wax, but that doesn't mean that the builder is not offering you any incentives. So that's where it comes back to having that agent, having those conversations and actually asking the question, pushing it a little bit, because sometimes maybe a new home agent just kind of wants a stonewall. Not saying that's true of all new home agents whatsoever, but it may have been the thought process at the time of whoever you might have asked at the new home agent, a new home site that you went to, if you didn't have your own buyer agent. So make sure that you get your own buyer's agent. Make sure that they ask the questions, and please do let us know how it turns out. Now, in some cases, sometimes realistically, the buyers aren't offering any incentives, and that is also important to know. There are some cases that they just won't. Like last year in Las Vegas, the builders were offering essentially zilch in incentives. I didn't see any of them do it, and they just weren't budging on it because they didn't have to budge on it. But this year, there's been so much volatility in everything in the market, and so much volatility with rates, and so much volatility with everything in general. They said, you know what, let's offer some incentives. Let's help make people a little bit calmer. Let's help them into these new homes. We understand that our pricing is high. The least that we can do is offer some incentives to better help out and help with financing, because a lot of them I've noticed take the form of some buyer closing costs. Some of them take the form of assistance at the design studio up to a certain amount. So it's important to gain clarity on exactly what might be offered there. But it really comes down to a robust conversation with your trusted real estate advisor and the new home agent. Let us know how. Please.
There's something that's interesting is that I was looking at today, the new home sales data came out, and this measures the purchase contracts that are signed for new home builds. They're up 13.8% in June. So it seems that a lot of people are interested in new home construction. And I think it is because the same reason Jay-Z is interested, and that is that the competition is really tough for those resale homes right now. So, you know, with the demand up for new construction, maybe that is a reason why they're not offering the incentives right now.
It's a good point. So let us know how that plays out for you, Jay-Z, and thank you for the insights. JK, thank you for being here. JK says, good morning. Glad I caught the live, and happy Margarita Friday. So yay.
I love it. I love it.
JK, if you find yourself in Vegas, I'm sure you and Celeste can go out for that happy Margarita Friday day, because she also likes that whenever, you know, non-COVID times. I know that Celeste is out on a Margarita Friday every Friday.
Yeah, I miss those days.
That's the thing, right? So JK says, happy to say that I am in contract to buy my first home. Closing date is late August. I would have been totally lost if I didn't have the wealth of information from your videos, Andrew. Thanks a lot. My friend, it is truly heartwarming and touching to me whenever I hear how my videos that I've created have helped. And it also is so meaningful to me whenever we have people joining in the stream and trying to get this information out there and help the channel grow. Because the more people that we can share the content with that you find helpful, I'm sure you can think of someone else that will find it helpful. And as the channel grows, you know, the way the YouTube algorithm works and everything, it starts helping the channel get noticed by more people. The point that I'm going with this is that if we can touch more people with the positive energy, we could touch more people with the knowledge that you're sharing that has been such a assistance to you, JK, the more that we're focusing on that we're stronger and better together than we are not, the better information we can provide the people to help them make well-informed decisions with both the purchases and also the sales of their home, make sense of real estate, and still just have this really wonderful tribe together. Because in the words of my friend Sean Cannell, you know, your vibe attracts your tribe. So let's put out the same positive vibe together. Let's build our tribe together, my friend. But I want you to know it really means a lot to me every time I read a comment, receive an email, text message. A gentleman hit me up yesterday on my website and just said, hey, Andrew, just wanted to let you know real quick. I just really want to say thanks for the YouTube videos. We just closed on our new house. And no need to contact me back or anything, but just want to let you know, thank you. And it was just touching. So JK, you doing the same thing in this live stream today, my friend, means a lot. And I'm sending you positive mojo for your new home, that your closing process goes nice and smooth, it's efficient, and that it's everything you've ever wanted to be. And I know it can be and will be after you make it your own with your own touches. So JK, now she gets over here. Okay, I know about points. So I have decided to stick with my uber low 2.75% fixed rate and not try to get a lender credit for my closing cost and be greedy. Smart. Smart. Good job, JK. Waveless Rancheros says, I'm back. Well, Waveless Rancheros, I'm back too. Rolando Solis says, when do you get the keys? So Rolando, that comes up all the time, right? And that's a great question. You're in contract, you put up all that money for earnest money deposits, you put up your cash close. So when the heck do you get those darn keys? It really depends on what state that you reside in. Here in Vegas, for example, you'll receive those keys after your loan has been funded, which normally takes place the day of closing. But more technically speaking, we give you the keys after Clark County has done a process called recording, which is simply updating the property record to your name as the new homeowner of the property you just purchased. At that point in time, we as a real estate practitioner can give you the keys to your new home, not before then. So your loan could fund technically and might not record until the next day. Very rare that would happen, but it has happened on very rare occasion. But we as a real estate practitioner have to wait until we get that recording confirmation from the title officer saying that, yes, the county has recorded the property. And at that point, you would get the keys. In some states, depending on where you are, Rolando, you will have people that, you know, you might have an attorney, and it's essentially like a round table, like a closing table, if you will, where everybody's passed around documents, signing everything. Like Chicago, you know, Illinois, from my understanding, comes to mind in one of that process, where you pass everything along, Delaware, and you just pass everything around in a circle, and right after you're done signing, the last thing to get passed is the keys to you. So it depends on where you are, my friend. The best person to ask that question is a trusted real estate advisor that you're working with in the area with you. At what point in time can you expect to receive the keys to your new home? And then if you'd be so kind, just hit us up in the comments down below and let us know where you are and what that process looks like where you are, so then we can become stronger and better together and be that much better enlightened from the insight that you could share with us. Appreciate you, Rolando. Thank you for being here. Seth says, hard to find Riverside County. Seth, watch this, my friend. Boom. Assessor's office, Clark County Recorder in Riverside County. Talking about special assessments, community facility districts with the Mellow, Ruse, any special assessments and improvement acts. And then you go property tax bills, regular property tax bills, supplemental tax bills, escaped tax bills, and special assessments. I found this by typing up Mellow, Ruse lookup, Riverside County. You'll find a plethora of information here. And you'd be able to just simply go on the Google, you know, obviously it's much easier to do on a desktop, and go ahead and hook that up with your question. That nice little keyword right there will get that answer for you. And you see that right here, 5,400 times a month, people are searching in Riverside County property tax. So pretty popular thing. Now, going back to, like, if you had a specific question about a specific neighborhood, just get up with your trusted real estate advisor, Seth, because even after the fact, I mean, if you have a good top-notch real estate agent that you work with, they're going to be there for you from, I mean, to the way I look at a closing is it only begins the relationship. I mean, we kind of were, yeah, if you look at like the way that relationships typically would evolve, right? When you're in the closing process, it's like you're dating, right? And you're getting to know each other, you're working together, and you're committed to working things out together to get to that place that you want to be called home. But once you close on that home, the experience done right, the experience done well, it makes for a lifetime relationship, a friendship, right? And when one of my clients calls me and say, hey, Andrew, I need this, I will always call them back as soon as possible or text them back, whatever the case may be, to help them find that information. So Seth, just know that you do have resources. You have your trusted real estate advisor. And if you don't have one, then let's make sure that we get you one so that you can ask these questions of them and gain clarity. But you just saw how quick it was for me to pop open Mellow, Ruse, look up Riverside County, and be able to go right into the the county clerk recorder's office for Riverside County Assessor's Office, where there's a lot more information along with what other people search for there. And in the process, you'd be able to find the answer to your question. Just a few minutes of research will be able to answer that question. But thank you for bringing that up. We want to make sure that you get taken care of. Okay, so Danelise Beauty, thank you for joining in, Danelise. Danelise says, can you talk a little bit about buying on one income? I love your channel. Thank you. Danelise, thank you for your positive mojo and thank you for joining us today. It is great to have you with us. Danelise, when it comes to buying on one income, yes, I've done it. And I did it. Well, I've done it more than once, I guess, and now that I'm thinking about it. But that said, it's very common. And Celeste, I'm sure that you see people that are buying on one income a lot too. So it's entirely possible. It's just more about just being a little bit more cognizant of your debt to income ratios, being cognizant that you're a one income family or one income person purchasing a property, and being prepared for having that emergency fund and being prepared to set yourself up for success, and also being realistic about that situation so that maybe you do have a significant other, or perhaps you do become a two income family at some point in the future, and that'd be great. But if not, then you're well prepared for it along the way. Now, Celeste, what do you see as primary concerns of people that have one income qualifying for a home loan? And what would you say your number one takeaway is as a tip?
Well, the last 5 transactions I've done have all been people with one income. So it's really, really common. You just have to qualify for the loan just like you would if you were using 2 incomes. So as long as you qualify, as long as you meet the debt to income ratio requirements and all of that, and you're comfortable with the mortgage payment, you shouldn't have any problems at all. So it really just depends on, you know, what your personal budget is, and you meet the guidelines, you're good to go. Not a problem.
Good stuff. And Danelise, if you have a follow-up question on that or something that you want us to go into deeper on that, just hit it up in the comments below, as opposed to the chat. If you throw it in the comments, it's a lot easier for Celeste to tackle it and I to tackle it right after the live stream. And it's also easier for me to play with it in my mind and think, hey, should we be creating a video on this? And what does that video look like? And, you know,
that is a good video topic.
It really is. So I'm getting my creative mojo going. So if you have like additional thoughts and considerations, then throw it in the comment section. And it's something that I read every single comment that comes on my channel. Whether I'm able to reply right away and is another story, but I read everything. I just do the best I can to reply to as much as I can. Thank you, Danelise. Really appreciate you joining in. Seth, thank you for this update. Seth says Menifee, Murrieta, Temecula, Paris can be a 1% additional in property tax. Thank you for letting us know, and that's pretty interesting information there too. Claudia Alexa, thank you for joining in. Says hello, happy Friday, everyone. Thank you. Kathy, thank you. Says you guys are awesome. Thank you, and thank you. And Claudia, thank you for joining us. We're always happy to have you, ladies, and it's great to see your consistency on the live stream. I really appreciate your support. Nicoletta, my friend Nicoletta, thank you so much for joining in. I was wondering, where could Nicoletta be last Friday when I didn't see her? But keeping in mind, Nicoletta is a nurse, so she's quite the busy lady. And Nicholas says, happy Friday. Thank you for all the information you share with us. So helpful and greatly useful for so many people. Thank you, Nicoletta. Appreciate your support, my friend. I'm wishing you and your family a beautiful day and a wonderful weekend. Rolando says, thank you. I'm in California, San Bernardino County. A lot of California here today with really interesting questions, and thank you for that. Seth, I've checked those sites, and unfortunately, the information is not comprehensive. So if we're checking sites like official government sites here, it may not be quite as comprehensive now. And I know since we're in COVID times, even if you made a phone call, it could be a little bit tricky to get a hold of people. And that's where we start going into these follow-up, like here's the Mellow Ruse lookup for San Bernardino County. And then obviously it takes me over here to property search to mytaxcollector.com, County of San Bernardino. So we could hit this and see what happens. Pay your property taxes line, property taxes, new homeowners. Let's see. We spent some time on this and we started digging. So now this is where I share with you, right? And I saw that you made that comment as well. And you're on the right track with that, Seth. Having an agent will greatly help because any agent in that specific location should know what those sites are, how fast to find that information, how to get you in touch with the right spot, right person at least, or maybe the right entity to ask those questions if it's not available on the website, and how that works. Take, for instance, yesterday was fun, right? So yesterday I was having a conversation with one of my clients that recently closed in North Dakota. They did buying a house sight unseen. Really, really, really wonderful active duty family that is arriving soon. But I shared with them, I said, look, we need to get these utilities turned on. And I gave them the links. I sent them the links, and they were having difficulty working through getting their electric set up. And the wife calls me and it's like, Andrew, I'm trying. I hate to bother you with this, but I'm trying to do it and it's not working. I said, okay, cool. I asked her what, confirm what number she was calling. I said, hold up, let me just go ahead and work this through real quick myself. So I went through the phone tree. I was making note of all my little buttons I pushed, right? Like 3, 2, 1, action. So long story short of it, I gave her a call back and said, hey, so it does work. This is the phone tree that you're going to go through. It's going to be 5 layers deep, unfortunately, but you do get connected to the right person that's going to be able to start your services for you. And it was because of the change in COVID, you couldn't just do it online quite as easily as you could have when you were a brand new homeowner moving from out of state. So, I mean, when you have an agent that's got your back, they're able to answer those questions, not only while they're working with you in the process, but also before the process. And ideally, everything goes well and you become good friends or, associates after the process, and always there for you. So definitely, let's get you a good agent to answer these questions because they're going to know the exact links in San Bernardino to help you get the answers to your questions, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd have to say finding information in Nevada, specifically Las Vegas, is so easy. Everything's public and it's easy to research and find. California is the complete opposite. Every time I have a loan in California, it's harder to find the property taxes. It's harder to find, information about the Mellow Ruse and stuff like that. So I rely heavily on title and escrow companies to help me find that information. So it can be just as easy as going to your loan officer or your real estate agent to find out that information, and those professionals will have the connections to get that info over to you a lot easier than you wasting your time trying to find it online. Because trust me, I've tried it too, and it's not always easy to find accurate information.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And Seth says, I'm just trying to educate myself as much as possible before enlisting an agent. That makes sense. And that's the purpose of the YouTube channel as well. I mean, at some point in the future, I'd love to have the opportunity to build up our tribe, build up our community, and be able to get a lot more of these information links and stuff like that, and then kind of consolidate things into one spot that I could make available to people that were signed up on, like being part of our tribe, like actually our own tribe page type deal, right? And make this information available internally to our tribe. And then you would be able to have it as a resource for your area and your location. Now, obviously, Andrew is one person and a tribe is a tribe. The power of the tribe is what wins when we all have the same vibe. So that's vibe and tribe and grow together so we can put together that stuff. I have the ability to do that, but it'll take all of us to make it as powerful and robust as possible down to our hyper local niche areas. So that's really cool. Thank you for that, Seth, and definitely keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Just take a breath, relax a little bit, and just know you're doing a great job educating yourself, my friend. You're going to be one savvy home buyer when the time comes. And I'm sure and I'm confident it will work out for you just as it should be. And you'll be very, very well educated and knowing what's going on in the process. Looking forward to the day that you tell me, hey, Andrew, I closed. I got my keys. So put that positive mojo out there for you. Okay, so let's go back. Huevos Ranchero says, Mr. Finney, does your website show new construction homes for sale? Yes, I actually popped it up for reference. Like, this is my website. It is getting a facelift. You heard it now. In about 30 to 45 days, my website will be facelifted and it will look even better. But yeah, if you scroll through my website, I actually have all kinds of stuff down here. Featured Vegas searches, new construction would be clicked here. The way this new construction would work is everything that's in Las Vegas area. Of course, this is my website, so every landing page is going to be tied into a YouTube video that's appropriate to the page about what I think might be best to help people. In this case, 6 questions to ask when buying a new construction home. But there's 294 listings, okay? I need you to understand, when you see a real estate agent website that has this kind of data on it, right? These are all 294 new construction homes, yes, but these are the ones that the builder opted to share with the multiple listing service here locally. That's why they're on my website. I have a different tool for builders and communities that I'd set up one-on-one for clients that are looking for new construction that match their criteria through a different resource that I have. And if you're in Vegas and you're wondering about this, Huevos Rancheros, and that's why you're asking me that, then let's get in touch. Tell me what you're looking for. And obviously you can find it right that fast on my website. But if you're looking for all of the available new construction communities and all the available properties throughout the Clark County region that are new construction communities that aren't on my website, then let me know, because I have 2 tools for that. And one tool is tied into the builders. One tool is tied into the MLS. The version on my website is tied into the MLS. But now that I'm doing this facelifting of my website, it just occurs to me, I wonder if I can somehow tie it onto my website. So bear with me. That was actually see what happens, Huevos Rancheros? We're having this conversation and bingo, I'm starting to think, is that possible? So I'm making a note to myself about seeing if there's any way I can tie that data onto my website from that resource that I'm talking about. Okay. That would be freaking amazing. That's what occurs to me. That would be amazing. But thank you, Huevos Rancheros. Yes, it's there. Okay, Dana Lee says, hey, yeah, my husband makes $70,000 and no debt. That's amazing. You guys would be great. Favorite Grace, I was scrolling, my friend, and you said, whoa, Andrew, you skipped my comment earlier. I was scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled, and I can't see where I missed your comment. I'm not sure if it just didn't pop up. So if you're still with us, Favorite Grace, please just feel free to hit us up and let me know what your question is so we can get it addressed for you. And if for some reason we miss it during the live, throw it in the comments below and then we'll make sure we get to it. D-Boy Trucker 80 says, been watching all your videos to help me look at properties in Paris, California. Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that, and I hope that you're finding them beneficial in research.
All these California peeps, just in case you didn't know, I'm licensed in California. So if you need a mortgage loan officer, I'm your gal. California, Nevada, those are the only states I'm licensed in. So contact me.
There's her information. Very easy to read. Mm-hmm.
You can even text me on that same phone number.
Good stuff. And thank you for that, Celeste. Yeah, that's a great point. You are licensed. Now, I'm here in Vegas, right? Even if I had a license in California, I cannot travel the entire state of California to work through an entire closing process with everybody that would be in California. I mean, that's the benefit of being a loan officer. You're able to do it from pretty much any location that you have a license, that you understand the how loans go down there. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Very, very powerful. And her, by the way, Celeste information, like her link that you just saw a moment ago, right here, is also linked in the show more description if you just tap open the description below. So D-Boy Trucker says, what's the difference between a property assessment fee and an HOA? Great question. So a property assessment fee, think of it as, if we take a step back and we look at it, what is it? It's an assessment of the property, a fee associated with it, right? So a property assessment fee, let's go with, really, they can take different forms. They can be a Mellow of sorts in California, because you said you're in Paris, right? They could take the form of like a Mellow if you think of a property assessment fee. They could be a special assessment that would be different than the Mellow. Let's say that you were like a townhome organization or a single family home community and there weren't gates on the community. But the people within the community decided, hey, we want to put gates. Well, they could levy a special property assessment fee for the purpose of building those gates that would go away after the gates were funded. So those are different types of special assessments, property assessments, if that's where we're going with that. But that's what comes to my mind when you're talking about that, unless you're straight up talking about property assessment for the purpose of taxation. And if that's the case, then what you want to do is you want to go to the recorder's office in Paris, California, review that information, right? And see what that property tax rate and how that assessment works, because that's the next time that a property assessment makes sense. So we've been talking so much today about Mellow, my brain was triggering off of that. So if the real question was just property assessment in terms of property taxation, then just hit up your recorder's office or simply pick up the phone and call your real estate agent and ask them what's going on with the property assessments, okay? Now the HOA is a homeowners association. The purpose of a homeowners association is to help preserve the property's value in the area through a set of uniform conforming rules that everybody, by virtue of buying into the homeowners association, is agreeing to. So the purpose of that is to make sure, for instance, that if somebody wanted to paint their house to make it look like a zebra, then put purple polka dots on it, and then throw, Happy Margarita Friday on the side of the house, that's not okay in an HOA. You do that enough times in a different community, it can actually destroy property value because there is no conformity and there is no rule set. These are, sometimes you see like glass in the streets and stuff like that, right? Or you see different things going on and people doing things as their properties when there's not the HOA. Now, am I saying that an HOA is the only way to go? Not at all. What I am saying is, when you ask me what the purpose of an HOA is, it's there to give a set of rules that are agreed upon to keep conformity in the area for the big purpose of preserving your property value by having rules and making sure that people don't do those activities. Okay. And I've made several videos about that. And I actually recently put a lot of those videos into a playlist, including the documentation that you can expect and explaining that documentation that you would receive as part of what's called an HOA resale package. So if you go on the channel, go underneath the playlist section on it, you'll see one where I'm talking about HOAs, and every video I've made about HOAs to this point is listed there for you to dive as deep as you like to go. Let's see. Seth says, you both have taught me so much already. Thank you, Seth. And I really appreciate you being here again. We're here to help. So please join in anytime. Of course, love to have you and love to have your questions and do what we can to help. Randolph Bird says, hey, Andrea. Hey, Andrew. Love you, brother. Well, Randolph, hey, brother. Love you too. Thank you for being here, my friend. Randolph says, I'm in negotiation on a home. Terrific. Terrific. Let us know how that plans out for you, Randolph. Sending you a positive mojo. Everything goes your way. Trip Tez says, hey, Andrew, I'm currently enclosing escrow in California for a new construction home. Congratulations, Trip Tez. Super excited for you, my friend. And I hope that everything is going well through your closing process. And thank you for checking in with us. JC says, good to know. And Seth said he will definitely be hitting you up, Celeste. So again, if you'd like to hit up Celeste, Fairway Mortgage, there's her contact information on the screen. If you drop down the menu below to the description, she's also hyperlinked directly to her email and her website as well if you want to reach out to her directly. Don Paredes says, can you get a mortgage if you are married but not with your husband but not divorced? Interesting. Celeste?
Yes. So maybe you're separated, but you're not legally divorced. That's what I think of. If you're married, but you're not together, but you're not divorced, you're separated. It depends on what loan program you do. If you're doing a government loan like FHA or VA and you're separated, but you're legally married, we are going to have to run a credit report for you and your husband, a joint credit report. Now, your husband doesn't have to be on the loan, but we do have to include his debt into your debt to income ratio calculation. Now, if you're doing a conventional loan, then we don't need to run a credit report for your husband. But depending on what state you're in, if you're in, community property state, your husband may have to sign some documents at title. So if you guys are on good terms, then I would say it'll probably work out. If you guys are not on good terms, then maybe he's unwilling to do the credit report or unwilling to sign documentation if needed, it could cause problems. So that's something you want to get figured out ahead of time before you go into a transaction.
Very good. And thank you for that update, because Dawn, hey, we really feel for you, my friend, because I've talked to people in similar circumstances and situations as exactly what you said, that two people are married, but not together, but not divorced. And when it comes time to buy a home, back to Celeste's point, a government issued type loan, like an FHA or VA home loan, you're gonna have to run them both. USDA for that matter, they're all.
Yeah, USDA, I always forget that one. We don't do a lot of those.
Not here, yeah, but it is a big loan in a lot of parts of the country, since actually like over 80% of our country is considered rural, and only 20% of us live in these big cities. So that said, I really feel for you, Dawn. What I'd ask you to do is to keep checking in with us. Dawn says that she's in Florida. I see that you chimed in right there. Thank you for letting us know. So let us know how it plays out for you, and let us know what the circumstance is around it and what kind of loan type you ended up doing to better assist other people that would be in a similar situation. Because if conventional is an option for you as a home loan and it makes sense to you, then that sounds like that would be your route forward, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Celeste?
Yeah, it would probably be easier to do a conventional loan. I don't know what kind of state Florida is, if it's a community property state or not, or what sort of special documentation may need to be signed. So you definitely have to get with the mortgage loan officer in Florida and just find out these details, and just make sure you, like I said, you want to get all your ducks in a row before you ever go out and start looking at homes. You don't want to get to the closing table and find out there's forms that need to be signed and maybe he's not willing to sign them. So yeah, I would totally get with a professional in your state ASAP.
Good stuff. Thank you for that. And Don did say, thank you so much for your help. And also, okay, I will. Good stuff. Thank you so much, Don. Greatly appreciate it. And when sending you positive mojo and wishing you a great and wonderful weekend as well. Let's see. Desi 9681, thank you so much. Desi says, Andrew, I'm currently in escrow on a home. The listing agent neglected to disclose that the clients needed a 2-week lease back. This was not in the original contract. Am I obligated to oblige them? Now that's an interesting situation. Contractually, the answer is no. Is it a smart decision to say no? It just depends. And it also depends with the lease back. Obviously, you're going to be getting paid some money, but I also understand that you got a place that you got to leave. And if you're renting, then you got to give notice, and then you got to plan that out. And you may have been planning this out the whole time. It's very lousy, in my opinion, when that does happen. And it does happen far more than it ought to happen. Let's put it that way, where a listing agent doesn't always share the information saying, hey, the seller's going to need a lease back. Because maybe that listing agent and the seller didn't have that conversation. And then that gets tricky. Now, whenever I list property and I know that the seller needs a lease back, whenever a buyer agent comes to me and they submit the offer, I always say, hey, just want you to give you a heads up. The review with your clients first. The seller's going to need a lease back. We estimate they're going to need this amount of time. And we'll put it together on what's called a post-possession agreement. That's what it's called here in Las Vegas, is a post-possession agreement with specific terms, specific rules of who pays what, how the money gets paid out, all that fun stuff. Keeps everything transparent. And I said, and let's do it up front. And if we don't need as much time, no biggie. We'll give you a call, let you know sellers are out earlier. You can move in. But whenever the opposite is true, it's difficult to swallow sometimes. So what I'd ask you to do, Desi, is to take a step back, reassess the situation. We would ideally, for the sake of the closing process, because this is going to become your new home, like to put the good mojo out there and make sure that everything goes through smoothly, efficiently, and no more stalling, right, of the process. Obviously, you're not, but the seller, it sounds like with the leaseback, right? So get with your buyer's agent to have that conversation with them, and then figure out the options that are before you, because they can interject a leaseback all they want, but you didn't initially agree to it. This is essentially what would be considered an addendum to an agreement. And the word addendum itself means just that. The first three letters are add. You're adding terms to a contract. So get with your buyer's agent to review that. Please let us know how it plays out for you and what you choose to do. Okay, so let me see. One last question here. Rolando says, how many clients can you handle at once in this hot housing market? My friend, it's a matter of process. It's a matter of focus, and it's a matter of knowing how to apply it. How many people can I handle? Generally, like this time of the year, it can sometimes ramp up to 15 at one time. And, you know, for me as one person, it is pretty intense, but I also tend to have been doing this a time or two and learned a time or two, a thing about a time or two. And that said, I know how to streamline the process for everybody. And even whenever I have a lot of different clients I'm working with, most of them always tell me at the end of the day, or what I read in the reviews that they write, really heartwarming whenever I get those reviews too. Love them. So that they didn't even know that I had any other clients, because that's the level of customer service and that's the level of care that I took. But I always communicate open. And I tell you, hey, this is what I do. This is the way the schedule works. And I will always make sure that I circle back with you. And I will always make sure that I get to you that the same day. And we will answer those questions. And that's how we roll. So it's a matter of focus. Again, it really comes down to focus. It comes down to professionalism. It comes down to process. It comes down to knowing what you're doing and how best to do it. And it comes down to working together as a team, Rolando. So if you're in the Vegas market and that was why you were asking, hit me up. Let's do it. Let's work together. It'd be great to work with you. I hope that answered your question, by the way. D-Boy Trucker, thank you, Andrew. Our offer was accepted and now waiting for the next step. Yay. Super excited for you. Kathy says, have a great weekend. You too, Kathy. And Favor Grace says, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much, Andrew, for all your videos and the information you pour out all the time. They were really helpful. My real estate agent and her team were the bomb. Fantastic. Glad to hear that everything worked out for you, my friend. That said, everyone, you know, it has been a great time with you today. We've been streaming for quite a bit. And I always enjoy, I know Celeste and I enjoy spending this time with you, but now I know Celeste has got to get ready to go do some closings. I got another family that's getting ready to close. So that's one of the things I'm going to check on and make sure the process is swimmingly. Back to the question about when you get keys. Well, I have some buyers that once we get recording confirmation, going to want those keys today. So
yeah.
Anyways,
End of month, everyone's getting their keys.
Right. Anything that you'd like to share before we adjourn?
Thank you all for joining us on Margarita Friday. Again, if you guys have questions and you need assistance in California or Nevada, I'm here for you. My contact was listed earlier. Other than that, I will see you guys in 2 weeks because I will be out of town next week.
Fantastic. So we'll see Celeste in 2 weeks, and Bill will be with us on Monday, coming into back after his 2-week absence, it seems like. So he'll be back with us on Monday. So if you want to tune in, that'll be a great time to have you. Favor Grace, I saw this, and I also saw in there it said today is my birthday. Well, happy birthday. I mean, I had to pop that up. I couldn't leave a live stream without telling you happy birthday. So happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Right? And quick question. Is it possible for me to pay out my homeowner's insurance annually instead of paying it with my mortgage?
Well, Favor Grace, it is paid annually. So when you purchase your home, you're going to have your mortgage insurance already prepaid for the entire year. And when your mortgage lender is collecting that insurance from you monthly, they're collecting it every single month. So that way, when it's due next year, they can pay it again annually, and you'll never have to worry about making that big old payment, because it's just slowly coming out every single month.
Good stuff. Thank you. Favor Grace, if that answers your question, please let us know. And if you have a follow-on question below that, please throw it down in the comments below, and we'll go ahead and get after that for you. Now, all the same, since today's your birthday, tell us what you're going to do in the comments below to celebrate your special day. And we're going to send you positive mojo for another amazing year full of love, wealth, abundance, and happiness, my friend. Now, that said, everyone, it's been a great time hanging out with you today. I definitely send you guys a positive mojo. And lastly, of course, that we can make the world a better place if we're the reason someone smiles today. So please go out there and be the reason someone smiles today. And we'll see you Monday. Enjoy.